Which side you want?
I sure appreciate the attendance of all you folks. Some famous American once said that there's nothing better than breaking bread with your friends.
Which side?
I'm going to just refer to this map once. I believe I can handle it now.
This side of the mountain.
Today I'm going to talk to you about the third world capital of the world. That's the Belgian Congo. On this round-the-world trip that I made, the purpose was to see the world as I went, not just to say that I'd been around the world. And I had a lot of help. There's a national organization of pilots and aircraft owners had an office in Washington, and this lady that was the head of it had been there for 28 years and knew all the details about all the airports all over the world. Now, where we're going to be today is in Central Africa, in the Belgian Congo. We're going to fly for 2,100 miles from West Africa to the way over here to Kisangani. Now, David, you remember the story about Stanley and Livingston?
Yep.
This is where it happened. Dr. Livingston had been missing for a year and a half. Hadn't anybody heard from him? So some of his friends in Nairobi got him to go, the explorer Stanley, to go over to the area where he was last seen and see if they could find him. They found him at Stanleyville on the river. And they named it Stanleyville. Later the natives changed it to Kisangani. Now before I got there, I went over the jungle there several hours, and I'm going to tell you about something I saw there. There were some special thunderstorms there over the jungle. They are cylindrical, a little less than a mile, and down to about 7.5 miles high. But they occur only where you have a lot of humid, hot air that doesn't have a long, a bad prevailing wind. There's a wind that they can't form. They'll have a thunderstorm, it won't be this pretty. What happens up here to higher altitudes, the higher wind velocity shears the top of it off. It looks like the head of an anvil. So they call them anvil-top thunderstorms. And I happened to be in the right place at the right time to see over 24 of these things.
Wow.
For an hour and a half in the northern part of the Belgian Congo. See, they don't last long, and you have to catch them just right. They dissipate, they don't dissipate, but they get diffused. Most of y'all have heard my Christmas story that happened in Upper Volta. Well, it's from Upper Volta that I flew over 2,000 miles 2 days after Christmas in '78 to Kisangani, Stanleyville. Now, I hadn't been able to get any weather information from my destination before the trip. You know, the day or two before the trip, or the morning of the trip. Just another part of the world. And I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, but when I finally got to the airport at Kisangani, it was abandoned. No vehicle traffic, no pedestrian traffic, no airplanes, nothing. And I left this airport at Upper Volta. They didn't mention anything about it, but I looked at my aeronautical chart and showed a new airport under construction about 12 miles up the river. And they had moved there 10 days before then, but no one bothered to tell me. Can you imagine flying all day to an airport that's abandoned?
Wow.
And I already got information from them that they could not guarantee me fuel. The problem was they had moved the airport but hadn't moved all the facilities yet. But I was able to get 2 drums of aviation gas from a warehouse downtown and transfer it. And that was part of the story I'm going to tell you.
Sit down.
I left Upper Volta over an hour before daylight because I was going to be flying so many hours and I was going against the rotation of the sun. And I wanted to get to this third world place before dark, see? So I left about an hour before daylight. And it's in the, what's called the sub-Sahara. They get about 20 inches of rain a year and they raise milo and millet, a few crops there. Farm of donkeys. Okay, when I taxied out about an hour before daylight, just before I got to the end of the runway, the timer told me to hold my position. Almost immediately a Jeep passed me. He went down that long runway looking for wild animals. You can't fence them out, especially elephants. But it wasn't the rainy season, it wasn't any grass that much, and he didn't find any animals, so I took off.
Charles, I got you a seat right there.
It looks good.
Thank you.
There you go.
There you go. That's better.
There we go.
Don't fall off.
Okay,
That's better.
this airplane of mine had been specially equipped. I'd taken all the seats out of the pilot seat, had a big gasoline tank beside me there that was 17 inches by 4 feet by 35 inches, held 120 gallons. Okay, I was trying to make a position report there a couple hours after I departed, and my overhead speaker had gone out. So I was going to reach behind this co-pilot seat and get my earphones. The seat was gone, the gas tank there, see? So I was what they call a radio failure that day. The procedure is, you go ahead and make a position report and emphasize the fact that you are transmitting in the blind, and they assume that you can hear but you can't transmit. See? So in addition to this third world country radio failure, see, I tried to buy some headsets in Kissing County, and it wasn't anything like that at all there, but I talked Belgian out of a set. He had just been working on the radio equipment there for 2 or 3 weeks at that new airport. Okay, I didn't have any Baptist missionary contacts there in Kissing County. I had some in Upper Volta and in Liberia, and a lot in Kenya, but none in Belgian Congo. Incidentally, there's a gentleman out at St. Catherine Retirement Center that's 3 or 4 years older than me that was born in the Belgian Congo. His daddy was a missionary. Okay, I got to this new airport. Had some clouds in there, but no storms yet. It rained about an hour later. I transmitted in the blind. I'd be landing in about 2 minutes, and they heard me. And they had a local type airliner that was due in there. They made him circle when I landed, see. Remember, this airport had been open about 10 days. I taxied down to the end of the runway and parked where there's some old light planes. And to show you how bad the third world deal was, an executive walked from the hangar area over to where I was to see me. He didn't have a vehicle to ride in. Okay, I asked about the fuel. That's when I found out they had some drums of gas in a warehouse downtown. A good friend of mine in Winona, older pilot, had given me a funnel and a chamois. He said, if you have to transfer some gas, if you use a chamois, not only will it stop the rust particle, but it'll stop the water. When the water goes through the chamois. Well, I was real lucky to have this funnel and a chamois. Okay, I proceeded to try to get some aviation gas, and I looked for an individual with a pickup that I could hire. We got to his house, where the pickup had a flat on it. But we got that fixed finally, and we got 2 more individuals where we had 3 adults to handle these drums of gas. So we had to get them into his pickup and then later transfer the gas. This warehouse is 15 miles away. That made it interesting too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to my arrival there when it's about dark. I got into a so-called taxi. All these taxis in those smaller cities all over the world were individually operated with no name on the door. Real casual operation now. I got a taxi that carried me by the 2 so-called main hotels there. Of course, they were filled up. So then he carried me to another place, sort of like a motel, with real ancient plumbing. And after I got settled in, I walked about a half a block in the light rain to a cafe that I'd seen, a so-called cafe. This one is something like a sidewalk cafe in that I could see from the sidewalk that they had an area there with some food in it, glassed in there, and in that area, among other food items, was a small, whole chicken that had been baked. Well, I think about all those good bacteria there in Kissimmee, so I'd take that chicken. Now, all day I'd been snacking there in the airplane, see, but this is the first warm food I'd had in 14 hours. There in Kissimmee. And the next day I got in the gasoline deal, see. Now, in this, after the first night, I walked down to one of those so-called good hotels, thinking I'd get a room there early in the day, and I did. It was on the 2nd floor. I hadn't had a bath in a couple of days. So I went in there and turned the water on the bathtub. No activity. So I left the faucet on and went downstairs and told the clerk my problem. He went around a corner and came back about 5 seconds and said, "You got it." So I went up the room, no water. In about 1 or 2 minutes, a stream of water about big as that straw here began to come into the bathtub. So I checked on about every 10 minutes. Finally, I thought I had enough where I could bathe. At which time, Judy, the bottom of the tub was completely covered with a film of mud. That water comes straight from the river. And that was really living. So to get a bath, I stood in that tub, trying not to stir up the mud, and took what I call a spit bath with a bath cloth. It gets better. Okay, we had a thunder shower at night. I think it rained about 2 or 3 times a week there. I was laying in this so-called hotel with no air conditioning, perspiring all over. I mean all over. And one of those thunderstorms blew in and cooled things off real good. And as it would cool off, my perspiration began to dry. Well, as the hair on my arms and legs, my legs and arms dried, it felt like 100 worms crawling over it, that hair drying. Okay, I got a little sleep patch about that thing. And it was in the second day we transferred all that gasoline, those 2 drums. So I got there one day, worked all day on that, and then I left the next day. going to Nairobi. Now going from Kisangani in Belgian Congo to Nairobi, Kenya was like coming out of the darkness to the daylight. It was a modern place, all kind of stuff, good drinking water, just different part of the world.
Yep.
Now, to go to the airport, to get into my plane that day I was going to leave, this Belgian had been put in the instrument landing system there, and he had stayed over several weeks to train the natives to maintain the thing. After it was more ancient then than it is now. That's 37 years ago. A lot of radio tubes and things had to be changed every once in a while. It took a lot of maintenance. So I told him about my headset problem, and I told him if he'd loaned me one, I'd made it back to him from Nairobi. And he did, brand new headset, earphones. I got to Nairobi, I found out that the air freight companies did not stop at Kisangani. So I had to keep it, see? Kisangani. Now, any questions?
I have one. You said
How about a question?
You said 37 years ago. So you were
It was in,
what, 59?
Right after Christmas in '78. I was 57 years old. 57 years old.
That trip is just something he wanted to do.
Okay.
It wasn't like the military sending him out to fight in the war,
Okay.
drop bombs. So, you know, he asked and planned. It took 2 or 3 years to plan that world trip.
Well, it took. I bought a pressurized version of the airplane I'd been flying, made by Cessna. First one the dealer Memphis got in May or June of '78. I planned to go the next winter when we're not busy at my place of business. I had a farm supply business called the elevator company, and I could go only in the dead of winter when there wasn't any activity. Because my biggest business was spreading and selling dry bulk fertilizer. We was doing that to 8,000 tons of fertilizer a year. You heard of that fertilizer place in Yazoo City called Mississippi Chemical?
Yep.
I was one of their largest dealers and one of the directors. Remember Jerry Clammer? He's a former salesman from him for that company. And every quarter when we have a director meeting, he'd be there to visit with the folks. And he thought I ought to write a book about this round the world trip. I told him I was tired. I don't write no book.
He was based out of
Any more questions?
How was that chicken that you got? That chicken that you bought, was it good?
Oh,
I don't remember. I really was. Yes, it did. You've heard the phrase when you go south about Montezuma's revenge. I've been across the border numerous times. All around this world, I got exposed. But my only contact with that Montezuma's revenge was at my first stop on this trip in Nassau in the Bahamas, in a modern Holiday Inn. And I got in the air the next day going 10 hours to Venezuela. Had to use a bedpan. Now that is really exciting in a small plane.
I'm sure.
Charles,
We don't
you
want
said you
details.
were hot.
Hot.
What was the temperature in the Belgian Congo then?
What's that?
What's the
What was
temperature in the Belgian Congo?
Belgian Congo?
It's right near the equator.
Yeah, so how hot was it? Very
Said,
hot.
how hot was it?
How many degrees was it? How much temperature was it outside?
I didn't see it at the thermometer. Everybody was sweating.
Hot enough.
Probably over 100 then, wasn't it?
But when I had that thunder shower, we cooled off and the perspiration died. You never had a feeling like it?
Hey, Uncle Charles, tell us about the movie star you met. The movie star you met. Some movie star that you met when you were in your war stuff.
In England?
In England?
What did you want to talk about?
I said, what about the movie star that you met when I think you were in England?
Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart? Is that it? No.
Well, there's another one too. The good
Clark Gable. Clark Gable. That's the one I was talking about.
2 months before I flew the B-17 to Europe, I was at Boise, Idaho, in another phase of training, and Jimmy Stewart was one of the instructors there. Okay, when I got to England, Clark Gable and a sergeant was there, and their PR team had got him a deal with the Air Force for he and this sergeant to go on bombing raids and take movies of the fighters attacking the bombers, and this movie is to be used at a gunnery training school that Clark had attended at Panama City, Florida. His PR team had got up that deal, see? Well, while I was there going on 25 raids, Clark went on 5. We didn't want to lose him, so they didn't let him go on the bad raid. One day I sent my navigator to tell him that we'd gone on a certain raid and going to be a lot of activity. Need to send that sergeant with us to take some pictures. They declined, and then I sent him back. You let us have your camera, we'll take them for you. They wouldn't let me in. Y'all heard about that famous bombing raid on the ball bearing plants in North Germany? That happened on my birthday, 43. We had 14 bombers. Out of the 14, we lost 5. On my birthday. You got any more questions about Africa?
When you going back?
Did you hear that? She said, when are you going back?
I do not have a bucket list.
I think Ali's done. He's checked off his bucket list, hasn't he? Yeah. All that stuff he's done.
Your memory is amazing.
You know he had the first hog farm in Mississippi?
At the first disease-free specialized hog farm in Mississippi.
Yeah.
Within a Winona in 63.
A variety of jobs. Resume would be interesting. Grain elevator and you crop dusted some. He crop dusted some. That's what my son does.
But this hog farm is quite interesting. There, about 15 years after World War II, medical stuff had made rapid advances. And those folks up in the Midwest that raise hogs have been able to get vaccines and stuff like that for all but 2 hog problems. One was viral pneumonia, the other was rhinitis, where the nose turned. They couldn't do anything for that. So a veterinarian up there started taking some babies from their mama by cesarean and raised them in isolation from all other hogs. And that's the only way to get by those 2 problems. These hogs were called SPF, specific pathogen free. Well, I had the first bunch of those hogs in Mississippi. And mine was 3rd generation from the laboratory animal. Seems like the laboratory animals are real stupid because they hadn't had no mama to talk to them. And it took them a couple generations to reacquire hog habits. The first trailer truckload of hogs I sold to Jackson Packing Company in 66. I had to run a cutout on them. After they kill the hogs there, they hang them on a rail and sort of field wrestle, like you do a deer in the woods. And their weight on your batch of hogs, there on the rail, compared to the weight when they were live, it's called a cutout. And I had them run a cutout on that batch, see? They wrote me a letter and said, we've been in business for 35 years. You're the best we ever had. Disease-free animals in a new facility.
It's thundering and the storm's coming. So, any other ending paragraph you want to say? He can talk forever.
You say we're gonna have a shower?
He's 95, so has a lot of bucket list things he's checked off. Yeah, we're gonna have, it was thundering and maybe a storm. I don't want all these friends of yours getting soaked. Won't hurt your hairdo, but it may hurt a few others. But we do thank all y'all coming out and being with us. And
Charles is a special man.
Well, I've enjoyed it. I hope y'all all got plenty to eat.
Charles, you always provide the best. Thanks.
he said, thank you, you provide the best. He's an interesting, colorful uncle, and we were all blessed to have him, and his whole family's real interesting, but he's been the shining star.
But I about had it.
He's tired. Time to go. Time to go, yeah. Y'all all be careful going home.